Thanks everyone tuning into Sin's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, today we are going to be reviewing If Looks Could Kill by Julie Berry. This is a historical fiction / true crime that pits Medusa against Jack the Ripper. First of all, I love Julie Berry's interpretation of Medusa versus it being a punishment. It's more of Athena decided to make weapons out of women to hunt men who would hurt women, i.e. Jack the Ripper. The novel begins with Jack the Ripper. He has just killed his 5th and final victim that we know of, and he is being hunted by a Medusa. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. The way the Medusas work is they're not just, it's not like the Medusa from mythology. Yes, she has snakes in her hair, and yes, she can petrify and kill a man with her gaze. However, she's not the only Medusa. There are a ton of them that exist. Again, they are created and born out of a need for retribution, vengeance, to, kill men who would hurt women or who have hurt women. That's how Pearl is created. Because Pearl, she's a normal Salvation girl. She works for the Salvation Army in New York. And you're wondering, like, New York? But Jack the Ripper was in the England. Yes, he was. So, Jack the Ripper, once he kills his 5th and final victim, he kind of goes to try to get another victim, right? Enter Medusa. She tries to petrify him. All she does is knock him unconscious, because in order to truly kill them, they have to feel some sort of remorse, Because when they look into the eyes of their victim, they are imbuing all the pain and rage and guilt, pretty much everything that requires feeling, into that gaze to petrify a man, turn them to stone, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work on Jack the Ripper, because he feels no remorse. He feels absolutely no remorse. He's a sociopath. He's a psychopath, He has no feelings. So all he does is fall unconscious. And then what does he do? He kills Medusa. So what is that? It's like an infection, right? So he's a carrier of this virus. And when he gets back to the States, because if you know anything about Jack the Ripper, one of the suspects was an American doctor who did go back to the States, right? That's the doctor that we're following. Julie Berry is going gung-ho like it was this guy, we're going to use him. Right? He goes back to the States, and even on the boat, he accidentally turns someone into a Medusa. And then she tries to kill him. Doesn't succeed. Clearly, he has no remorse. Now he becomes paranoid. He becomes absolutely paranoid. He thinks so many women, he's like, oh my god, they have snakes in it. He thinks he's losing his mind. He already lost his mind, but, that's a discussion for another day. Bumps into Pearl. Just walking down the street, just bumps into her. And then she becomes the next Medusa. And Pearl, she's a very stuffy, God-fearing man. You can kind of see, like, there are some illusions as she's trying to rectify with her identity as a Medusa. You can tell something happened to her. She was assaulted in some way. Julie Berry does not go into detail into her assault, but you can tell she was hurt by a man in some fashion, and that's why she decided to join the Salvation Army, to, find peace within herself, to do good, because it's that whole victim blaming, like, oh, I deserved it because I wasn't devout enough, I wasn't religious enough. You can kind of see that context there. She doesn't outwardly say it, but you can see the context there, right? But as she's like, you know what? I'm going to be God's weapon. So that way, this situation doesn't happen to other women. And I think that that's great. Again, the idea of Medusa is it's not a punishment. it is a form of retribution and weaponizing women, delving into that feminine rage aspect and really using it as a tool to destroy men. So I think it's really powerful storytelling in my opinion. And you also follow Tabitha. Now Tabitha, she's just a normal, regular girl, kind of just joined the Salvation Army on the whim. But then she forms a sisterhood with Pearl. And, you know, as Pearl is kind of struggling with being a Medusa, she decides, I need to protect my friend. And then they, you know, discover a brothel that they have to destroy. There's a lot going on, but it works. You know, they are dismantling a brothel that kidnaps girls and, you know, turns them into prostitutes. And they team up with a news reporter in order to do this, an Irish bartender who's, you know, Tabitha's love interest. He's quite charming. There is a lot. Ooh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Feel it. Oh, it's gonna come. But it's really good. Oh my goodness. See, I knew it. Allergies. Oh, goodness gracious me. Sorry about that. Like I was saying, it's a lot of, you know, historical fiction. It's a lot of really good storytelling. I will say it is a little slow. Like that first quarter, as it's introducing us into the characters and really setting the stage as to, and delving into that Medusa mythology, it's slow. I want to say like the first half of it is kind of slow for me. When Pearl becomes a Medusa, that is when the story really, really takes off, because you're seeing a lot of character growth, not just from Pearl, but from Tabitha as well, because they're both kind of not entirely likable. Like, you can understand where they're coming from, but you think Tabitha's going to be more of the main character versus Pearl. But as we get to learn about Pearl, and you get to see that subtext of, you know, why she joined the Salvation Army and why she is the way she is and why she's just, you know, a penny pincher. As you learn more about her, you get to see a lot of the character growth. So you are able to, you know, connect to her as a character. The same with Tabitha as well. So there is a lot of character development. I think the character dynamics are really well done. I think the pacing needed a little bit of work, only because, again, it kind of drags that first half. I think that first half of the book could have been a little bit more concise, and it still would have been as impactful, if not more impactful. Because that first half, I was reading it slower than I normally read. I usually read a page a minute. I was probably reading a page every 2 minutes. But, you know, reader fatigue is a thing as well, so that I was just reading nonstop, so that's also a factor. But I do think that first half of the book is a little too slow, so Barry does risk losing the audience. However, if this is subject, you know, true crime, Jack the Ripper, mythology, historical fiction, I mean, if you like any of those four aspects, themes, you're going to really enjoy this book. And that's why I ended up enjoying it for the most part, because I like true crime. I don't read enough of it, but I do like true crime, especially true crime documentaries. I like Jack the Ripper. Fun fact, he murdered his first victim on my birthday. Obviously I wasn't born in 1881, but you know, the date is the same. I love Greek mythology, especially the mythology about Medusa. You know, I love different iterations about that story. So I do think the story was slow, but it was still able to hold my interest because it was dealing with topics that I'm personally fascinated with. And again, I do like the character development, and that, you know, from that halfway point, when Pearl becomes a Medusa, the story just kind of takes off. Like, it is nonstop. It is relentless. You get to see camaraderie, sisterhood. You get to see even a love interest, you know, bar brawls, escaping a brothel and beating people up. Like, it's kind of great, that last half. So honestly, really solid book, very entertaining. I was hooked, and I would, you know, highly recommend it 100%. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book reading friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.